Imagine yourself awakening at dawn, not in the soft light of your modern room, but in the still darkness of a brick house 4,000 years ago. The floor beneath you is hard and baked clay. The air is dry and faintly warm, even before the sun rises. There is no breeze, just the low hum of early movement, someone stirring millet outside, the scraping sound of a lid lifting from a water jar. You're in Mohenjo-daro, one of the largest cities of the Indus Valley civilization. It's a city without kings, without temples that dominate the skyline, and without monuments that proclaim war or conquest. And yet, it's organized, strangely, rigidly so. The streets run in straight lines. The houses seem repetitive, almost modern in their regularity. There's an eerie quietness to this place. But for you, a day here begins with water. You make your way to the shared well, one of the many that dot the blocks of this city. Carrying a heavy ceramic vessel, you wait. It's not your turn. Others draw water slowly, methodically. There's no pushing, no shouting, just a quiet patience. Everyone knows the routine. The streets are wide, surprisingly clean for an ancient city, and oddly enough paved with brick, but the monotony of the red brick stretches endlessly in every direction. If you're not careful, you might forget which doorway leads to your home. Back in your dwelling, your morning meal is simple. Grain, maybe a little barley, boiled until soft. It's unseasoned, bland, but filling. If you're lucky, you might have a dried date or a pinch of salt traded from the coast. As the sun climbs, the heat thickens. There are no trees shading the streets, no open gardens for lounging. The architecture is inward-facing. Homes are built to keep sunlight out, not in. You work wherever you are needed. If you're part of the working class, it could be carrying bricks, or helping to maintain one of the countless drains and channels that make up the city's intricate water system. That's one of the oddities of this world. The people here, thousands of years ago, had an advanced understanding of plumbing. Each house has a waste chute. Wastewater is channeled into the streets and collected into covered drains. It's efficient, but it also means maintenance, and someone has to clear the blockages. Sometimes that someone is you. Down in the drainage canals, it's damp and sharp with the scent of clay and old waste. There are no gloves, just your hands and tools shaped from bronze. It's not dramatic, just necessary. The work is slow, repetitive. You move brick, scrape out silt, patch walls where needed. The sun above moves, but you don't see it much. The walls are tall, and the shade is narrow. You pause only when you hear the distant call of a cart being pulled through the lanes, a merchant perhaps, coming in from the nearby settlements with cloth, beads, or fish dried in the coastal air. At midday, you rest inside your home. It's quiet, like the rest of the city. The thick walls insulate you from the outside, but they also trap the heat. You sit near the steps of your house's small interior courtyard, where a breeze, if it comes, might reach you. More work, or if not, then errands, trading, cooking, sweeping. There is always something. Life in Mohenjo-daro isn't chaotic or dramatic. It is not a place of violence or danger, but it is orderly to the point of exhaustion. There's little joy, no public theater, no parades, no monuments. Even the city's greatest building, the massive Great Bath, is not for luxury, but for ritual or cleaning. No sculptures of gods, no faces of rulers, only carved seals with strange animals and script no one understands. As dusk falls, there are few lights, no torches lining the streets, just the pale glow of oil lamps flickering behind high brick walls. You eat quietly again. The same grain, maybe some lentils, then you sleep. On a mat, beneath a low ceiling, the scent of earth and oil filling the air. The city around you is calm, silent, dreamless. But beneath the surface of that silence is structure, constant structure, the rhythm of their lives, slow, unchanging, and tightly woven. It's easy to forget how hard that can be. Now that you've spent a day in the dust and routine of Mohenjo-daro, let us shift gently into something quieter still, something that hums beneath the surface of bricks and drains and sun-drenched courtyards. It's the writing, or rather, the shapes, tiny, deliberate markings pressed into soft clay or carved into polished stone. They're everywhere and nowhere, on seals, on tablets, on pottery, a script that stares back across time, and yet says nothing we can understand. This is the Indus scriptor system of symbols used across the vast cities of the Indus Valley, stretching from Mohenjo-daro in the south to Harappa in the north. and out into dozens of towns and outposts beyond. Hundreds of symbols, thousands of fragments, but not a single translation. The symbols are small. Often no more than 5 or 6 signs appear on a seal. Some resemble plants, others look like arrows, fish, combs, or waves. A man with horns kneels before a tree. A bull, impossibly detailed, stands proudly beneath mysterious glyphs. But unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs or Sumerian cuneiform, the Indus script has never been deciphered. No bilingual Rosetta Stone has ever been found. No ancient scholar left behind a glossary or a phonetic key. You're looking into a civilization, but through frosted glass. Imagine trying to read a letter, just a few sentences, but the language, the grammar, the very structure of it, has no modern relative, not even a hint. Imagine holding a book whose alphabet may not be an alphabet at all, but something else entirely, a code, a logo system, a list of goods. And this script, whatever it was not written on walls or monuments. It wasn't engraved in towering temples or royal proclamations. It was stamped on seals, small, square tokens of authority or ownership, maybe, and on tablets no bigger than your palm. This tells us something, or at least it hints. The script may have been used primarily for trade, or accounting, or personal identification. The absence of long texts suggests this was not a civilization of boastful kings or prolific poets. There are no epic narratives, no royal decrees, no sacred hymns carved in stone, only silence. And yet, there are patterns. Modern scholars have catalogued the symbols, analyzed their frequencies, studied the sequences in which they appear. Some signs are always at the beginning, others only appear at the end. There is structure here, syntax perhaps, even grammar, but no key to unlock it. Was it a spoken language at all, or was it symbolic, religious, numeric? Some argue it's not a language in the traditional sense. Perhaps it was more like a trademark or emblem used to identify families, professions, or deities. Others believe it might resemble proto-writing systems from other parts of the world, early forms of communication that predate true script. Whatever the truth, it remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in archaeology. You see, even though thousands of artifacts bear these symbols, they remain mute, and time has not been kind to preservation. The soft materials, bark, cloth, palm leaves on which longer texts may have once existed, are gone, crumbled to dust over the millennia. So we're left with fragments, whispers. And the irony is, the Indus people may have been among the first to develop writing. They were contemporaries of the great Mesopotamian cities, of the Nile scribes, of early Chinese inscriptions. And yet, their voices are the quietest. They tell us nothing of their gods, nothing of their laws, nothing of love, or loss, or war. They left behind no biographies, no songs, no names, just signs. Still, those signs persist, stone by stone, seal by seal. The same bull, the same tree, the same horned figure. And in that repetition, there's comfort. Perhaps the message was never meant for us. Perhaps its silence is intentional, a kind of mystery preserved, not by accident, but by design. And as you drift deeper into thought, picture one of those seals, warm from the hand of a merchant, pressed into damp clay, passed across a table, left behind on a trade route that no longer exists. A forgotten signature from a world that once thrived, then faded, and whispered nothing more.
Let's now wander gently through the dust and stillness of Mohenjo-daro once again. But this time, we are not walking its narrow lanes or waiting in line for water. We're heading toward something larger, stranger, something set apart. You follow a broad stairway, flanked by heavy brick walls, leading downward not into darkness, but into the heart of one of the most curious structures of the ancient world, the Great Bath. This is not a palace. It is not a temple. It is quite literally a pool roughly 12 meters long and 7 meters wide, sunken into the ground and lined with finely fitted bricks sealed with a type of ancient tar. At either end, wide stone steps descend slowly into the water, enough space for many to enter at once, or for a single figure to descend in solitude. It's quiet here, reverent. No statues remain. No carvings on the walls tell you what this place was for. And yet, standing before it, even in imagination, you feel something. This space was important, sacred perhaps, or simply essential. We call it the Great Bath, but that name, like much of what we think we know, may mislead us. It may not have been for bathing in the way we imagine, not a place of hygiene or relaxation. There are no adjoining saunas, no perfumed oils, no mosaics of mythic scenes. Instead, what you see is precision. The bricks are uniform. The drainage system is complex. A side chamber may have functioned as a changing room, or perhaps as a private antechamber for someone of status. Water could be filled and emptied with remarkable control for a Bronze Age city via a series of drains. Sluices and covered channels that stretch outward like silent veins beneath the city. This was not a casual bath, it was something else. Some archaeologists suggest it was ritual, a place for purification. Imagine the still water, reflecting the pale sky above.
Oh, yes.
One by one, people entering, washing away the dust of their labor or the burden of some spiritual impurity. Quiet steps, gentle splashes, silence, then retreat. Others speculate it may have marked important ceremonies, perhaps rites of passage, or the induction of a new leader, or seasonal observances tied to water and fertility. Still others wonder if it served an entirely different function altogether. A civic space, maybe where water and community intertwined. Not religious, but cultural, a place where presence mattered more than action. The truth is, we don't know. That not knowing becomes part of the wonder. You see, in most ancient civilizations, water was not just practical, it was spiritual. Mesopotamia, it was a gift from the gods. In Egypt, it pulsed through life itself, rising and falling with the Nile. In India, rivers became sacred mothers. Here in Mohenjo-daro, water was channeled with care, stored with ingenuity, and cleansed with precision. And at the center of it all, this pool, no grand temple was ever found in the city. No towering ziggurat, no giant idol. But the great bath remains central, enduring, quietly intentional. It tells us something about what mattered here. Not power, not conquest, not gold or glory, but perhaps clarity, balance, cleanliness, a rhythm of life tied to water, to ritual, to repetition. Close your eyes and imagine the stone cool beneath your feet. You step down into water that is neither warm nor cold, just still. A breeze moves through the open courtyard above, rustling the edges of cloth. There are others nearby, but no one speaks. You descend slowly, deliberately, then pause. The surface trembles softly around you. The bricks press against your heels. City beyond remains in motion, but here there is peace. Perhaps that is the true purpose. Not bathing, not spectacle, just stillness. The stillness of water, of tradition, of a people who spoke without words we can read. And as you return, softly now, from that chamber of water and brick, the quiet follows you. The mystery lingers unanswered, unresolved, and gently rests in your mind, like sediment settling at the bottom of a forgotten pool.
As we leave the quiet hush of the Great Bath behind, we turn now to something more elusive than mystery: power. Not the kind shouted from balconies or carved in towering statues, but something softer, quieter. The cities of the Indus Valley, vast and geometrically planned, stand apart in ancient history. There are no monumental tombs, no golden thrones, no boastful inscriptions praising the conquests of a ruler, no faces of emperors or warlords preserved in stone. And yet, these cities did not build themselves. So we ask gently, who was in charge? Let's begin by looking at what is not here. There are no palaces, no seat of royal governance. There are no armies, no walls bristling with defenses. There are no grand temples, no priests presiding over monumental altars. No single building stands out as the residence of an elite ruling class. But that does not mean there were no elites. Instead of kings, the Indus Valley may have had something more diffuse. A bureaucratic elite, perhaps, administrators or merchant leaders who maintained order not through force, but through consensus, trade, and ritual. Walk with me now through the citadel mound of Mohenjo-daro. Not a fortress, but a raised platform where large public buildings once stood. These include the Great Bath, granaries, assembly halls, spaces that suggest coordination, but not domination. And what of the homes? While many people lived in simple one-room dwellings, clustered tightly together, some houses were larger, 2 stories high, complete with private wells and bathrooms. These were not grand mansions, but they were carefully built, often near the heart of the city, and suggest comfort and perhaps influence. Imagine one such home. You step through a shaded courtyard where linens dry in the dusty breeze. The brick walls are cool to the touch. A well at the center gurgles softly, drawing water from deep below. The floor is swept. A second level opens to the sky. A woman arranges seal tokens along a table. A man studies tablets of weights and measures. This was not luxury in the way we think of it. No gold, no carved ivory thrones, no feasts of roasted peacock, but there was order, there was privacy, there was structure. These may have been the homes of those who managed, who oversaw granary distribution, coordinated trade with distant lands like Mesopotamia, or led local rituals from which meaning was drawn. Power here was woven into the fabric of city life, not towering above it. And that power may not have been absolute. The stateless nature of the Indus civilization suggests that leadership was either collective or rotational, or perhaps spiritual rather than political. There may have been priestly elites, though without temples or priest statues, we cannot say with certainty. Some suggest that knowledge, particularly of water systems, sanitation, weights, and standardization, was the real seat of power. And what about prestige? It seems the Indus people favored uniformity over flamboyance. Their art, beautiful but modest, repeats motifs, animals, trees, symbols. Their tools are precise, their measurements consistent across vast regions. This suggests a culture where control meant harmony, not hierarchy, where success lay in balance, not in conquest. And so, as we look gently into the past, we find an elite life defined not by extravagance, but by quiet privilege. A life with a private well, a shady courtyard, a corner in the marketplace where your seal was recognized. A life of measured decisions, subtle rituals, and communal trust. Perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. Not that we do not know who ruled, but that they did so without needing to be remembered. They left behind no crowns, no legends, no conquests carved in stone, only cities that worked, and then stopped. As the evening drapes over the mud brick skyline, imagine the quiet closing of a carved wooden door. The marketplace is still, the bath is empty. The dust has settled, and in a home that still stands in fragments, someone, an administrator, a priest, or simply a mother, rests content beneath the same stars you see tonight.